I could do the whole Unabomber look too. Just this is the Matrix. I don't know, something stupid. But yeah. Yeah, it's live now, by the way.
Pigs in space.
Pigs in Space? What's that from?
I think Family Guy.
Hmm.
Have a lot of random crap in my brain. Girl.
All right. Oh, what's up, Justin?
What's up? What's up, dude?
Justin used to be my neighbor here, actually. Oh, we need to move back further, I think.
I think so.
All right. Oh, is that your feet? Oh no, it's Sadie's butt. It's a Sadie girl butt.
It's always Sadie.
She's a good girl.
Oh, look at that handsome fella. He's not talking to me, he's talking to you.
Well, you said it before you walked in, so
Yeah,
you had to have been talking about me.
It sounds about right. You're the more handsome one. Are you gonna gas us today? Gas, 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 gas.
Yeah, that was weird. The gassy thing. People kept calling me gassy.
Yeah. Ask Justin. Justin, does he look gassy? On the
I do.
last show we did.
I do look gassy, I think. I think I just give off a gassy vibe.
Maybe it's all that gluten you've been eating.
Yeah, I'm celiac and all that disease.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Yeah, so yesterday I had Tiana on. Most definitely, yeah, the super gassy. Just in case someone says anything on YouTube, it can pop up here as well.
But yeah, I read into it. It's a difference between celiac disease and just people that have a gluten allergen. So the difference is a celiac is kind of deadly, right?
Okay.
And now with gluten allergy, you kind of feel nauseous, you get bloated, you kind of feel a little bit tired, a little bit crappy.
Yeah.
Now that's people that have an allergen, and it really comes down to the different kinds of wheat that we use in comparison. So what we use is like a red hard wheat that's high in protein, and what the Germans use is something different that's not as high. And we also treat it with chemicals and stuff to kill insects and things like that. It's a pesticide, and our bodies can't really handle what's called glyphosate.
Mm-hmm.
It will just bacteria can't process it, so it kind of ruins our stomach lining and kind of makes it worse, and that can lead to further health complications down the way. It's all about the way that we chemically preserve our wheat, our bread, so it lasts longer in comparison to European communities.
Okay. I got no pushback, man. I don't know anything about bread or anything like that. Well, but I wanted to say, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Speaking of bread,
money,
alcohol. You brew your own stuff.
Yeah, I brew my own stuff. I pretty much just use yeast, water, a source of sugar, and then pretty much I go through my process. The key thing when it comes to making your own alcohol is sanitizing your equipment. That's really going to determine if the final product is going to be good or not. If you go back thousands of years to how these different cultures and communities brewed their alcohol, there wasn't really a way to sanitize or clean or anything like that. So more often than not, it probably wasn't as good as it could have been.
And also, now you mean like a flavor thing or like sanitary?
Oh, sanitary and flavor, because flavor is heavily impacted by diseases and things like that.
Right.
Bacteria in the air, just natural dirt that can get in. Now, it was the Egyptian community. Funny, like it's kind of funny in a way, but slaves weren't paid nothing when you go back to the ancient Egyptian times.
They weren't paid nothing?
They weren't paid nothing.
They were paid something then?
Yeah, often they were paid in beer. Or like some kind of alcohol, because I mean, hey, a drunk slave's a happy slave. Yeah, so they were paid in beer, but back then, obviously, they didn't have sanitary conditions to make their beer. So often you get like bugs, leaves, grass into the top of it. So they'd make these little bamboo straws or, leaf straws that they'd stick to the bottom to drink the liquid out. That had to get through all that gunk on the top.
Oh,
I know it doesn't sound really good, but I mean, hey, there's people that will drink Purell straight from the bottle just because it's something that'll get them drunk in like a very bad condition.
Right.
But even today, there's some communities in Africa that will still treat beer as like a holy thing. It's more cleaner than water, so they use that as a community. The person that makes the beer of the village is often seen with a kind of a status of wealth, and often there's celebratory traditions in some villages where the wealthy people have to put on like a huge celebration with this much beer like every year.
So it's like a tradition thing.
Yeah, you're sharing your wealth. You're responsible for giving this beer to the community because it's your civic duty as the wealthy one among the village. So there's a lot of different like community aspects, cultural aspects, and traditional aspects that go into alcohol, and that's one of the things that's always satisfied me, or interest me.
Well, like for you brewing alcohol,
yeah.
Do you do anything in the traditional way? Like, is there something that you incorporate tradition into your brewing?
Well, let me just say one comment. Is it like the straw for yerba mate? I actually have never seen the straw for yerba mate. I do not have any idea what that looks like. Like I know what yerba mate is, and I've always seen it in the can. But let me go ahead and just Google search that really quick. Oh, so I told this girl I'm going to the field real quick. Side story, super funny. This girl that's from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I told her how we're going to the field for training exercise, and I was like, I'm gonna bring some board games out to kill time. And she's like, "Oh, what board games?" So I'm like, "Oh, Unstable Unicorns, Uno, chess." And I was like, "I'm probably even bring Secret Hitler out there." And she's like, "Secret Hitler?" with like a question mark because she doesn't know what that is and she's German.
Yeah, that's a great game.
All right, so let's look at this. What the straw is? Straw for yerba mate. Yeah, I'd say that's probably pretty interesting, but it was made of weaker conditions because that seems to be made out of metal. Yeah, I'd say it's probably similar to that, but really it was just like a reed straw that they'd stick through to the bottom. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Can you answer that question though? Like, do you do anything in the traditional sense?
Yeah, and do you mind if I speak real quick about how I got into it?
Yeah, sure. That's
And
fine. Yeah.
that'll lead into it. So I went for the first time to Ireland. It was the first trip I ever did outside the military back in 2020. I happened to go to Ireland in March, and that's when COVID was popping up. And I was like, I'm gonna still stick out my trip. And I ended up making my way down to the southern coast of Ireland to a place called Kinsale, Kinsale Meadery. At that time, I was getting into mead. I thought it was super cool. Viking origins, things like that.
And mead is like a wine from honey.
Yeah, so there's a difference between honey wine and then like mead. Mead is referred to as the process of alcohol being started with the fermentation base being honey. We're having it in its fermentation base.
Okay.
What I mean by that is before any fermentation has happened, before any yeast has started eating sugar, you already have honey in the pot. Like honey's there. Then you introduce water and then you introduce yeast. And that's the pure basics that you need in order to make alcohol. But I went down to this meadery down in Kinsale, the only one that had like an actual tap room to go in, sit down, drink. They did a tour and everything, and a lot of what they had on their walls was like murals from like 300, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, talking about the saints of Ireland and how there was a lot of different saints that were associated with being holy because they kept bees and they made honey. They created, well, bees made honey, but they produced this honey, and some of them even made alcohol from it, and they were known as holy because honey has so many medicinal properties as an antioxidant, things like that. So
it's its own preservative.
Yeah, it was almost treated as kind of like a religious holy thing. Like if you kept bees, they're like, oh, okay, that person is pure.
Yeah, it didn't in like Robin Hood, Little John or whatever. He was a priest, and didn't he have. For some reason, I associate him with honey.
So if we talk about that movie's a great movie. I think Robin Hood with Russell Crowe is one of my favorite ones. And in that movie, you have the dude that plays not Little John. Little John.
I thought it was Little John. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. He plays Little John. And I remember the quote. He's like, "People call me Little John." No, Little John was the tall one with the board that came back from France.
I hated the Russell Crowe movie, so I don't.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was a good one, but I know who you're talking about.
So anyway, so like it was seen as like a holy thing. To honey had like holy ties culturally.
Yeah, and I remember him being threatened. He was like, "Hey, if what is the priest back the Catholic Church going to think about you keeping bees and not spreading honey on their bread and things like that?" And then that's what really progressed the movie apart. But him keeping bees was definitely a sign of the times that it was normal for holy people to keep bees and like produce mead. I associated with kind of like a charitable thing. We raise money for the church this way, and so on and so forth. But they created these um, saints that mainly just kept bees, and that's what led to. I was gonna look up what character he played, but I'll turn that over. Yeah, but he was looking up all these different saints when I was there, and I thought that was really cool. And so at that time, I was moving back to the States, and then we were going into quarantine. As we know, COVID was a weird ass time. I had people in New Hampshire where I was living saying that COVID was a myth. I was literally in Ireland to see that place get shut down. Flights got canceled out of Dublin. Then I went to Belfast, and then I flew back, and then I was quarantined for I don't know 4 months, and I decided to just go to my local beer store that was doing still online ordering, pick up my shipment out front, and then just get started. Now that first year, I made a lot of shitty batches, and I've did different things that I shouldn't have done. Like I put too much sugar in like the amount that I was trying to make, and when you put too much sugar, the yeast is just overwhelmed. It's like being a fat kid at the buffet. You don't know what to eat. You eat too much, and then you're stuffed, and then all that other sugar is just sitting there. So the yeast get oversaturated too quick with sugar. It just kills them off almost immediately. Like maybe you get your stuff to like 2 or 3%, and then you just have all this sugar sitting at the bottom, and it just.
So the sugar and yeast content is what determines the alcohol, or?
Yeah, I mean, through varying steps. So if I was to walk you through it, obviously we have the sanitation part. Let's move past the sanitation. Sanitized your whatever you're going to be fermenting in.
Right. Yeah.
You sanitize your airlock. I'll explain what that is. You sanitize the tools that you're going to use to mix it up. All right, now we move to the next step. Next step, everything is all sanitized. Now you're going to fill up your thing with water. Like you usually want to use about 70% water for the total. Like if you're making 1 gallon, you're using 70% water to fill up that 1 gallon. Now what you have at the top is called an airlock. The most traditional one that people use is in the shape of an S. So you have this little cap right here with little tiny holes picked at the top. You fill this airlock with about half water, and it's running into this 1 gallon jug, and it has a little stopper where it gets inserted in. So there's no air leaking out. Now, take off the stopper from the top. You put how much honey you're going to use, any additional ingredients. Maybe you put some nutrients to help the yeast along. Then you put the yeast in. Now, all that's sitting in there. You want to get it all mixed up, and then you put the stopper on top. What the yeast does, the yeast looks for that sugar that's in the jug, and then it starts eating. It's converting it into alcohol now. Now, what's being released, like when it's eating, it's releasing out a burp effect of carbon dioxide. So what you're going to see is this little airlock start to bubble, and it's going to keep bubbling, and that's how you know that the fermentation process is underway. Now, there's different things that you can do to monitor what you're doing. You can use what's called a hydrometer. Like what you have at the beginning is a gravity. Water has different weight to it than honey.
Right.
So you have a starting gravity after you mix all of your ingredients. Now you use this hydrometer, and after let's say a week that this thing's been fermenting, you take a new reading, and it'll tell you, hey, this is your new gravity. That means the yeast has been doing its job. So now you can do a calculator effect and look at where it is on the thing. Let's be like, oh, your batch is at like 7% alcohol right now. I'm like, okay, if I'm satisfied with that, I'm satisfied with the flavor. Thing I do next is kill the yeast. You can do that by throwing potassium sorbate in, or just shock the yeast with a temperature effect. Too hot, too cold, the yeast isn't going to function right. And that's the whole thing that comes down into beer making, is that traditional ales can probably ferment around 68 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, lager yeast has to ferment around 38 to 45, maybe 50. That's why until refrigeration, lager wasn't typically brewed in the summer months, because you run too much risk of bacteria forming. And when people drink contaminated beer, it can lead to ergotism, which is like, insanity, body pains. Okay. Yeah, it was a big thing that was especially common here in Germany, especially when they're using other things for brewing, such as like mugwort, and like different like flowers and things like that. It wasn't just narrowed down to barley, wheat, and things like that. So the Bavarian purity law, which came out, it came out and said, hey, you're only allowed to make your beer with water, yeast, malt, and hops. And that's why today in Germany and Bavaria specifically, you really don't see any craft beer. Like you see Zeugel, which is a community beer, and every recipe is different in every community. But if you go to Oktoberfest, it's not like you're going to walk and see a Gose, an IPA, or any kind of stout. And that comes down to that Bavarian purity law because Bavarians are very traditional with how they do their brewing. And like, you know, if you were to go into a brewmaster's program here, it's almost like a 5-year commitment. And when you do that,
very German.
Yeah. And when you do that, it's more like an apprenticeship at breweries. When you do that, they expect that you're going to stay on afterwards. They didn't run you through all this training. They didn't teach you their secrets just so you can walk off with that knowledge. They're very serious about their brewing here in comparison to the States, where we'll do a brewing program for 6 months to a year. And from there, we'll move on to like more of an apprentice at a brewery. But you work your way up from like keg washer to cellarman to, you know, to assistant brewer to master brewer. That's all about experience in the States and compared to like a lifelong learning process here in Germany.
Right.
But if you go to like, if you go to Berlin or anything like that, you can find craft options. It's just the difference of areas. Like, you know, Frankfurt, you go to their Oktoberfest, no one's wearing lederhosen. But if you go to Bavaria, it's a Munich, everyone's wearing lederhosen. Just a difference of community and thought process, especially when it comes to brewing. But yeah, going back to my process, there's varying factors that can affect the final outcome. And then a lot of it comes down to how impatient you are or patient. Like, do you want to let it sit for like 6 months to a year? Maybe the flavors could improve, maybe it won't. Once you finish that initial fermentation, usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks. Are you moving it to another container and then introducing new ingredients? Now, the common thing with that is if you were just to leave all your ingredients in the primary fermentation bucket, once you move on to like the tasting, you're not going to really taste all the flavors. If you let the yeast eat through all the sugars, it's just going to taste like alcohol. It might have like some notes of what you introduced into it, but really it's going to come down to that secondary fermentation process of where you can introduce flavors. I know a great meadery out in California. Pretty much what they do is they make their giant batch of like, you know, let's say they make like 300 gallons of alcohol in this giant steel tank. Now, what they're doing is once they hit that 300 gallons, they're separating it out into smaller tanks, and then they're introducing ingredients, and then they're going to let it sit for however long. That's why some meaderies will have the same flavor. They'll taste variously different, but it's all because they're using the same base as their mixture.
Right. So when you're brewing, you yourself, because you say it has like a traditional thing, what are some things that you may do, or do you do anything that is like traditional in the sense? You brought up the S airlock, but what anything else, like a method of a traditional method? Or
I use some traditional ingredients. I try to use traditional ingredients. I try not to use store-bought honey. If it's varying on the area, I'll think about what's the local like flour. You know, in Germany, a common flour is the rapeseed flour. It's the long, big yellow flour. I will get honey from that, and I'll use that as my traditional batch because that's what they were doing. They were using what was around them, and I try to use all local ingredients when I make my batches. And then I'll try and use like more things that you would see in like wild around the local areas. So, you know, if I was in an area that had sage growing, maybe try sage, maybe try flowers. Like, you know, everything has like a taste to it. And I try to use traditional taste. Like I try not to go too far for additional ingredients. If I have it near me, I try to use that. You know, there was, I don't know if you remember Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
I do remember the show. Yeah, there was the hotel thing, right?
Yeah, and the Tipton, and they had one of the brothers. I think it was Cole Sprouse that actually started his own meadery in Brooklyn for a while. But his was very different. I made the drive down from Boston to there. It took me like 4.5 hours, and it was called All Wise Meadery, and it's closed down right now. I think it was mainly just a college project between him and his college roommate, but they were interested in like the science of brewing and things like that, so they want to give it a shot. Most of their meads were clear, and what they used was just floral. So all their meads were just very dry. Now, a dry mead is all right. Like I made that lavender one, but theirs was more dry than mine, and I like a little bit of sweetness to mine. Now, a common thing you see in store breweries, because it's cheaper, is what they do is or it's easy, is they back sweeten their meads with more honey. But the problem with that is when you drink it, it tastes very like syrupy, artificial. And
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people that try like Viking's blood or something like that, they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I like this because it's just so thick.
You
And
said Vikings. Is that like a store, like a
a
store
well-known
bought,
one.
like a well-known one? Okay.
Yeah, you can find Viking's blood in almost every like liquor store, well, outlet liquor store. They're very
Mm-hmm.
common in Augusta, Georgia. You
Okay.
go there and you go to like the outlet liquor stores, they'll have a whole section of Viking's blood.
Jeez. All
And
right.
I think that's like kind of the intro to meads that a lot of people experience. Personally, one of the best ones I've ever had was Superstition Meadery out in like Arizona. And they've done crazy things like vanilla, black cherry. Then they've done a peanut butter and jelly mead. And they're actually
Hmm.
really good. I really enjoy them. They have some really sweet ones, but they're known as like the most award winning meads.
Yeah.
And like one of their premier bottles can go for like $100.
Okay, Jens, gotta go to head out. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're good, Justin. Thanks
Hey,
for stopping in, man.
nice meeting you, Justin.
But okay, so like you went to Ireland for during COVID, you said you made a lot of bad batches. How long do you usually brew for?
Like how long have I been brewing, or
No,
how
no,
long
no,
do
like
you
each
traditionally
batch.
brew? It really depends on what I'm trying
You.
to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's such a thing known as session meads. The session meads are like 5% alcohol. They're meant to be drank very quickly as soon as they're made. Like you don't let these ones age. They're purely like a good drink. So you know how I said like you're gonna over sweeten it and it's gonna
Yeah,
like
yeah.
crash itself. So you can do that on purpose. Like you can hit 4% and then just load a fuck ton of like additional honey. And you could do it as a step process. You can start off with like a traditional batch, if you want it semi-sweet, is 2 to 3 pounds of honey per gallon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want it really sweet, you use 4 to 5 pounds. Now, you're thinking that's a fuck ton of honey. How are you getting that all in 1 gallon? How is that all dissolving? You can do it in a step process where you're not going to over sweeten the yeast, and they're going to be like, "Fuck, man, this is tasty, but I just don't want it anymore." You do it in a step process. So you do like, all right, 2 pounds first week, 2 pounds second week, and then finish it off 1 more pound. You're really trying to push that yeast in like a healthy way. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you've already eaten this sugar. That's great. Now let's add a little bit more, add some yeast nutrient to kind of help boost it along. It's like additional. You're undoing the belt. The yeast is like, fuck yeah, man. I'm all you can eat buffet and I'm ready to go. But if you want to stop it on purpose, start off with like 2 pounds. It gets ready and then you just crash it with like all 3 pounds on top of it. And then the yeast is like, all right, I'm done. And like it's finishing off at like 6, 7%. And
Mm-hmm.
then add any additional ingredients you want. So let's say we do that, we add blueberries in, and then boom, let it sit for like 3 weeks. You filter out all that excess product and you put it in a new container, and then boom, it's good to drink very quickly, a month of time.
Well, okay, but for you brewing it, right?
Oh,
How long? Because you said you made a lot of bad
I've
batches.
made
How
so I
long
don't
into the
have
batch would you know that you've messed up or anything like that?
so I've made a lot of different like choices, and it's all the science of experimentation. I am past the point now where I make a mistake in like the first couple of weeks,
Mm-hmm.
but and I'll explain that. So I know how to sanitize all my equipment. I know how to ensure that it's clean and sanitized. I'm going to make a good product out of it. I know how much honey I need to use in order to ensure that it's good, and I even have a whole different system because now I'm using these giant steel containers. Instead of using an airlock, what I do is I have a hose running through the top, and the
Mm-hmm.
hose runs all the way down to a bucket of water and sanitizer. Now these bugs have to climb into the bucket filled with water, climb up the hose, get through all that carbon dioxide that's releasing in order to get to my batch. That's preventing any fruit flies from getting in there, any additional bacteria. So that's something that I've implemented now. But if you will go back, like when I first started out, I
Mm-hmm.
was, mold was forming because I wasn't sanitizing
Mm.
correctly, and it's just gross. You're looking at it and it's like, is it still drinkable? Probably not if you're getting like a month. If I'm making something long term, I have that lavender one that's been sitting in the tank for like 5 months, but I started drinking it at like 2, 3 months.
Where the hose at?
Yeah, you tell us. You're the one with the Riz. But like, so it'd be like 2, 3 months and I'm more or less ready to drink it. I'm a very impatient person. As long as like at that point I'll have friends taste test, and like I got people that come to me and they donate, and like I send them home with like a gallon or whatever. And they'll let me know, if this is really fucking good or if this is like trash, and I know if I should keep that. I have a recipe book that I write down what works for me. So I always have the ones that I know are good.
Mm-hmm.
But I made a mistake learning something with spices. Spices go a long way, especially if it's a dark spice. That was me, I think.
But you sent me a text? Or you're saying your phone went
Yeah,
off?
in my phone. So yeah, I star anise. I use 2 ounces of it for a 5-gallon barrel.
What is that? Star anise?
Yeah, that is commonly a flavor associated with black licorice and Jägermeister.
Okay, so that sounds awful.
So there I was with, I invested like $100 in honey, and this thing came out like 14% Jaeger. Now even we're drinking 5 gallons of like shitty 14% Jaeger. Who's gonna want to drink that? My mom. My mom likes black licorice, so she's like, "Give me some of that."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember taking a 5 gallon of strawberry vanilla mead to a huge motorcycle club party, just lifting this thing up, just pouring it out like that.
I'm sure they got a kick out of that.
Hmm?
I'm sure they got a kick out of that.
Yeah, well, hey, free alcohol.
Yeah.
These motorcycle club parties are always like half alcohol, half
STDs.
titty dances.
And then meth,
Yeah, crack cocaine, sometimes.
Really?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm in a military club. Oh, and forgive us if I have to step away. I am blocking his garage and his wife from being able to get into her house.
Is she here right now?
It's 7:31, so I imagine she's almost here.
Well, you're good for now. She'll text you or she'll park over.
So she doesn't have my number. She has your number. That's your wife.
Well, you said you just texted her.
No, I said you should text her earlier. I said it's.
No, you said I'm gonna text her.
No, I don't have her number, man.
Yeah, you do.
I don't have your wife's number.
Yeah, you do.
How would I have her wife's?
For when you watched our dogs.
Oh, I have your number, but no, I don't remember.
Oh, because you were like, "Yeah, I'm gonna text your wife, tell her that I'm in front."
I don't know. Okay. I don't think I said that.
You definitely said that.
Ryan, did I say that? I don't think I said that.
This is way before the podcast.
No, I said you should. No, I said you should probably text her, let her know I'm blocking her in.
That's not what you said.
Oh, okay. How dare you? How dare you?
Yeah,
call me a liar? And Brian never did tell us where the hoes were at. Sad.
I wanted him to come on and.
Whoa! Come on, what?
The podcast.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have my own bee farm. I do feel like that'd get a little annoying sometimes, especially if I'm in a small residential area like I am now, and like they're always around where I'm coming out. But me and my brother still have that land out in New Hampshire, and I think when I'm finally done with the Army, maybe I'll move out there and we'll try and make that dream of like a brewery / meadery work out there, and then I can dedicate like a whole acre as a bee farm.
Have you ever like taken the bee wax like with the honey in it and just chewed it that way?
Yeah, I actually.
It's like gum.
Yeah, you know what I just ordered? It is that Real Mad Honey from Nepal.
I don't know what that is.
So they did it on the Joe Rogan show where they have this Real Mad Honey, and it's supposed to have granotoxins, which if eaten in large amounts can make you feel almost like you're dying, poison, things like that. But small amounts is like a natural sedative. Helps with heart problems. It's supposed to help with libido too. And I was curious. I'm like, if it's on the Joe Rogan show, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, then it definitely works. Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious. I don't know what your opinion is of the Joe Rogan show.
I love Joe Rogan. I watched him so much, and then COVID happened, and I think he just went crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still wanting to try it. Like, it's the same with hot ones. I see them trying these hot sauces. I'm like, yeah, I'll get that, but it's all marketing,
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think COVID broke a lot of people's brains, but yeah, I think Joe Rogan's awesome. Or he used to, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I'll still jump on that show a couple of times, but I also like the Y-Files, and then I like Whatever.
What's the Y-Files?
The Y-Files is a dude, and he has like a mascot as well. Funny voice. It's a talking fish, but he talks about different things like Noah's Ark, different theoretical military experiments, 9/11, whatever. And he talks about all the information he has and what's what's possible, and then at the end he gives his real opinion on it. So he talks about the Anunnaki, and then,
right,
yeah, and he has this talking inappropriate fish that's making comments all the time during the show. So that's really interesting. He even does one on like the Stargate program,
Mm-hmm.
Area 51, anything that you can think of where people are like, oh, I bet you this is a thing, Hollow Earth theory. Uh,
Yeah, Garth, yeah, all that good stuff.
yeah. And then whatever is that one dude that engages the OnlyFans stars, females about like,
Yeah,
you know,
I've seen whatever. Yeah.
yeah, I like that show just because it's interesting to hear his opinion.
Run back the tape. NFL starts today. Will you incorporate bacon flavors into your meat?
I actually went to the Germany's largest live action role playing thing. It's like a LARP slash Renaissance festival that lasts like a whole week long,
Mm-hmm.
and they have actual vendors there and shit like that. And you had a meat vendor there, and he had a bacon flavored meat, and I actually have some of that at my house right now, and it actually came out really well. And it can work if you go to Bamberg. You have their smoked beer, and it has like that nice barbecue flavor.
Yeah, I did a tour in or Bamberg. Yeah, I did a bunch of the different breweries and stuff there. It was awesome.
Yeah, and there is a way to do it. Like if I was gonna do it, I'd have to cook bacon, and then I'd have to make sure that all the grease and stuff was out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'd put it in a mesh bag, and then I'd drop it into the already fermented meat. I wouldn't ferment it, but I'd drop it into the already finished, and I'd let it sit only for 3 days, and then from there I'd take out the mesh bag, and then I'd let it like just filter out all the gunk and sediment that's left behind by yeast, because when yeast is done doing its job, it leaves like a little layer at the bottom. And that's, when you drink a filtered or unfiltered cider, that's what they're referring to.
Okay.
Unfiltered means it still has that sediment in it.
Right.
But I move all that over to a new container, make sure that it's strained out, that there's no more particles, and then I'd let it sit until it clarifies a little bit more. And there's a lot of schnobs out there that are like, oh, I can't drink a meat if it's not cleared up.
Mm-hmm.
It's personal preference.
So, that whatever podcast. So, I mean, I hate it. I hate the podcast. So it's interesting that you like it. One, it's funny, but it's like I feel like a lot of those dudes are just like shitting on women. That it's like,
Well, it's ran mainly by that Brian dude, but like, yeah,
mm-hmm.
no, I know what you're talking about. Like, they do bring up certain good points. Like they were talking about, uh, like a man is willing to have sexual relations with a girl that he doesn't intend on marrying or like doesn't see as a partner, but girls are more inclined to only sleep with a man if they could see them getting in some kind of relationship with. And usually, you know, like a girl, like a really hot, like 10, is not going to sleep with like a 5 unless he has other things going for him.
Right.
Now, if it's a handsome dude, he could be poor, he could be homeless, and well, fuck him just based off of attractive looks. But men will sleep with like lower tier women, 3, 4s, 5s, and have no desire to actually commit. We're going to commit to the girl that we actually think is hot.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a fine point. My thing is when they're just like, sometimes you watch that show and it's just you feel like there's like they get like the dumbest women on just to like see them flop and flounder when they're asked like any hard questions. It's
Well,
like,
I was watching the most recent show, and like you notice it that a lot of these girls are like 18, 19.
yeah.
Fresh OnlyFans stars, or they're going to college for some kind of degrees, and they're still trying to figure out what makes sense and what they think is like they have a strong idea of like this is what I want to do. This is who the people are.
Yeah, but
But
they're
they're still
dumb as hell. They're 18.
yeah, they're still in the developmental phase. I know when I was 19, I was stupid as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know a lot about the world, and I went to the army, and I was still getting adjusted, still kind of learning who I was as a person, interacting with all these new ideas and new people. Finding people from different backgrounds. I'm a California kid, meeting kids from Georgia, meeting kids from Hawaii, kids that came from China just to join the army, and it's really like life changing to go through all that. But at the end of it, I feel like I know a little bit more than I did then.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I met myself when I was 19 and 30, I'd fucking hate myself. Like, you're a fucking loser. You're just a dumbass 18-year-old, But I think that's healthy. I think that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, your growth to develop as we get older is just natural. Now, going to Brian real quick, just because he posted a comment. Uh, Maybe I plan on doing it if I gauge enough interest for it. Like I think with that mead that I tried from the Renaissance Festival, it's definitely like a hit and miss for a lot of people. Some people like it, some people don't. It's the same with anything. You're gonna have a mixed crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I are think that's less and less true.
There's a delay. Just don't even pay attention.
Okay.
There's like
Yeah,
a 30
sorry
second
about
delay.
that. Okay.
So yeah, we'll when we reach the stopping points, we'll look and check to see if anyone's saying anything. But like for the most part, stay engaged. You know.
No, yeah, stay.
So yeah, I mean, okay. So I ended up titling this stream "Beers, Bombs, and Venezuelans." The reason why is, are you tracking this whole bombing that just occurred 2 days ago?
No, I try not to look at stuff that makes me sad.
Well, so there's an alleged like drug boat from Venezuela was like sailing towards the Caribbean. I say sailing. Does sailing even make sense anymore? Like,
yeah, they're selling.
well, they don't use sails, you know.
They were boating.
Yeah.
They were boating.
They were traveling by sea, and they were striked like with some sort of airstrike and blown up. And it was like people's reaction to that, like because the president came out like we bombed them, like did his victory lap. Well, how do you interpret that? Like, do you have like any?
I mean, who were these Venezuelans? Were they drug?
Apparently, yeah. Apparently, they're like drug runners.
Drug runners. I mean, you don't know every person's situation. You don't know what people are doing on that boat, and like if they were coming from Venezuela, it's possible you had refugees on there too. You never really know a situation until you get both sides of the story, and even then, both sides are biased. I mean, I think it's not really ever anything to celebrate when someone gets killed.
What if Hitler got killed? Would you celebrate that?
Well, it depends. Are we talking pre-art school Hitler? Or are we talking after?
After
World
hard
War
school,
II?
after during World War, let's say like 1939 Hitler.
I don't think it's ever a cause to celebrate someone's death, but I think there is cause to celebrate in bringing someone to justice.
Okay.
I mean, I'm glad, obviously that we managed to defeat him, but it's a shame that we never actually got to bring him to the world stage to make him face like the millions of families that he impacted.
Mm-hmm.
He just took that way out, but yeah, I prefer to see someone face trial for their crimes because sometimes death is too easy. But I also won't ever celebrate someone's death because that's just not who I am as a person.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like it does sound kind of fucked up to be like, I would be happy when this person dies or when this person died, But like,
I think it's a kind of an all or nothing kind of thought process because you can't be like, oh, I'd be happy if these people died, but I'm happy if these people live, or I'm happy that guy died, but hey, we can't talk crap about that guy, or we don't want that guy dead.
mm-hmm.
I feel like, hey, if you're gonna be like that, just be like that. But if you're not like that, don't be like that.
Well, you can be happy about certain things. You don't have to act like all food. Yeah. Some food's bad, some food's good. I'm glad when I eat certain food.
Yeah, but I feel like life and death is a very 50, like it's a very this side, that side.
Okay.
Like I'm not happy that, people die.
Of course, yeah. I mean, in general, yeah. But it's like when there's some awful people out there, I'm like glad to know that like they can't do awful shit anymore.
Yeah, but we also can't punish them to the full
extent of what you want to punish them for.
Yeah. I mean, I think closure is important to a lot of people in those kind of situations.
Yeah, but I think that like there is a closure in death, that like this person is dead.
Yeah.
But
I'm like, definitely I can understand that. But yeah, I've never been the kind of guy like that's just like, yeah, we fucking bombed them, we killed them, no, let's fucking party.
Right.
But
you didn't get fired up when they got Osama?
Again, I still feel like that's something that people would want to face him for, and like have him in a court system, lock him away, never let him see the light of day. Like death is like an easy out.
Yeah. So what would you think would be better, if they killed Osama bin Laden or captured him and publicly tortured him for 30 years? Which one would be better in your eyes?
Well, they probably wouldn't publicly torture him.
I'm not saying they would. I'm saying.
But I mean, hey, he's confined to like a concrete cell, and he's given like third tier food that's like not the best food. Like he's still being fed and he has access to his religious materials, whatever. At least we're doing like the morally ethical thing in that point.
Sure. I mean, it's one of those things that you talk about, like not killing somebody or like having closure, and it just reminded me a lot. You know what a triumph is? Like the Romans, what a triumph was?
Yeah, a success, a victory.
Well, it was a parade, a
Yeah.
triumph. It was a victory of like a campaign or a war,
Yeah.
where at the end of it they would publicly execute the enemy leader. So like Julius Caesar ended up capturing the Gaul king Vercingetorix. They had him as a slave for like 11 years, and then paraded him through the streets of Rome, and then killed him publicly after like those 11 years. It was like, how about closure? You know, like
I just
damn.
think we should strive to be better than the people that are committing the atrocities.
No, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I think we should strive as like an ethical point of view, a moral point of view, to be better than who we're trying to bring to justice. That does cause some great lines sometimes between everyone that has a different opinion, especially in like a military point of view. Like if you're out there on like on mission, whatever, and you have disagreeing points of view with the people below you, that's when as a leader you have to solidify your point of view. You can't be half-assed about it. You have to say no.
Yeah,
this is what we're
especially
do.
in war. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at, I think a great example of that, you know, Saving Private Ryan, when they let the German go, and he ends up coming back later and killing one of them. You see, it's like situations like that. Like it's hard to say what would be the right answer, and you don't know the future. Things are just going to spiral out on their own based off of whatever decision that you made. Like if they would have killed him, whatnot, maybe that squirrely guy would have gone back and told the command about it, and then the command, like Captain Tom Hanks, would then court-martial, put in Leavenworth, whatever. You never know how anything's going to spiral out until you make a decision.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, I think we should aim for like a certain moral high ground, especially in warfare. But like there comes to a point where it's like there is like hard truths and hard things that need to happen and do need to occur. Like one of those is killing people. Like you can't fight a war.
Oh, I'm not saying that we can prevent all like combat action or anything, but there's individual things that we can prevent.
Well, no. So like this is, are you familiar with General Sherman?
Yeah.
And like his philosophy on war, I think is the right one. I think the only moral way to fight a war is to be as brutal and as vicious as possible to end it as fast as you can. Is to force that surrender. The longer you prolong war, the longer you're prolonging these great ails and evils.
I know.
You know?
But like, you know, let's shift direction.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I'm on board with you. We're fighting as hard as we need to. We're doing what we have to. You know, World War II, we're clearing trenches with shotguns, things like that. Anything to give us the tactical advantage. But if you have like surrendering Germans or whatever, 5 of the advanced force, they're surrendering, arms up. Execute them, not execute them. Which is the better answer?
Not executing them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, is the choices that we can make individually where it's like, hey, what should we do here? Not like, oh, they're firing upon us. Well, or let's put our hands up. No, I'm not talking about that. Sometimes you have to fight, and sometimes you have to put your big foot forward. But in those cases where you have an individual choice, where you can make the answer, I'd say make the answer. One of my favorite military stories I've ever heard, and I actually was on board with naming Fort Rucker, Fort Cavazos, only because of the story.
Right.
There's a Chief Warrant Officer Cavazos, who earned the Medal of Honor for this, was during the Vietnam War. Vietnam War, the Americans were known for committing a lot of atrocities, especially with the Fog of War. Everything would just kind of go hazy, and they'd be just committing these acts. And it suddenly was becoming the new norm because guys are going to do what other people are doing around them. It's the sheep mentality. It's the mob effect. They're looking around. So this lieutenant was gunning down innocent refugees. This chief warrant officer,
helicopter pilot.
Yeah, he landed right in the middle of the soldiers and the retreating the retreating villagers. And he told this lieutenant, he's like, if you advance any further, we're gonna gun you down. You know, stop. Like, what are you doing? And like, he had his gunner in the helicopter just aimed at this approaching formation. How cool as fuck is that?
Yeah, I mean, that goes to show like the immense moral character that man had. Because like it's one thing to just be like, that's the right thing to do, But
It's another to actually action it.
you 100%, and like to be able to put yourself in a situation where you're like, it is super unpopular. Like there's a certain like, you know, there's like the official code of ethics, but there's always like the underlying code of ethics in the military, especially.
Yeah.
Where it's like one of those things that it's like, if I was to see someone commit a war crime, you know, depending on what happened, there's a lot of people that would be like, oh, turning a blind eye to something like that.
Yeah, you know, I just recently watched the movie Midway. You know, I've always been kind of curious about it. I haven't watched it, and I finally decided to watch it. And like, you have Nick Jonas in that film, and he plays a Navy soldier. You know,
Sailor.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe sailor.
yeah.
Get it right.
Navy sailor. Sorry,
I guess they're all soldiers technically. So.
Navy sailor, and I'm trying to think. I think it was. I'm trying to think of his exact name, but anyways, he gets captured after they launch a raid on the Japanese, dive bombing some of their carriers, and they get away. Plane's on fire. Plane goes down. They get captured by the Japanese, and now years later, records came out and shows in the movie that these two men were tortured for 10 days before the Japanese executed them by tying them to an anchor, and throwing them off the ship. And
Jesus.
yeah, like they had the opportunity. They have prisoners here, and you know that's an Unbreakable as well. They have prisoners that they're forcibly torturing to just
for whatever, yeah,
yeah, and then they execute them. Like there's no reason to do that. You know, that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Make them morally responsible situation in the situation, especially as a leader, setting an example.
Well, because I was gonna say with Cavazos, like that underlying code of ethics. You know, there's like a thing that's like there's like a tolerance for things that are unsavory in war, and for someone to sit there and put their foot down and like say fuck no, like is the standard, but it isn't the standard. And like for a guy to do that, that's so exceptional that like, you know, there's people out there where I've seen things not to that degree, but somebody taking a moral stand, that just looking back on it, it's like, damn, dude, I wish I was half the person that man is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, yeah, I'm that guy in the moment. I'll do that. I got their back. You know, if you go like sexual harassment, misconduct, and they always talk about being the intervention, and everybody's like, yeah, I'd intervene. But then as it's happening, you just go, oh, fuck, I got to get home.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing with that. It's like, are you going to be the person that moves? Like, don't think, move. You know, everybody's worried, oh, well, he's my friend. I don't want to like upset him. I want to be friends. Or like, oh, maybe it's like, you know, something like this is normal.
It's hard. It's that, yeah. I mean, that's most people. It's very hard, even for the military, for somebody to have that sort of moral character to like step in. I remember in the Marine Corps, there was a lot of in the infantry. There was a lot of hazing going around, and like, you know, like I was a private, and I mean, like midnight, having dudes drunk with duty, like CQ, like breaking down my door, throwing us out of our beds, like, you're gonna fucking clean, bitch, and you know, sitting there like cleaning floors in the barracks, people throwing beer cans at us, whatever. And I remember because there was 4 of us in this whole company, and they just got back from a deployment, and so like 4 privates, like 80 fucking like senior enlisted or whatever. And I remember this one dude. He was a corporal, and his last name was Hitchler, and he came in swinging on these dudes and was like, don't you ever fucking do that shit, you know, like none of you guys are in their leadership, like this is disgusting, you know, you guys are all fucking pathetic, bullying these guys. And I remember just being like, damn, dude, because I know there's lots of motherfuckers that would open their door, what's all that yelling, okay, whatever, you know, it's okay, I'm not getting involved. Like this dude was just like came ready for violence, like people he just deployed with, you know. So like if there's like a tolerance of like tomfoolery or shitty behavior, like it's pretty high that most Marines would have given their buddies. But he like saw that and saw people like being a victim, and he like fully jumped in. I just remember thinking, I was like, damn, dude, I wish I can be half the man he is. Like to like put myself in that position. I think back to that all the time. It's like, damn, dude, like there are some fucking great people out there, and just we stand on the shoulders of giants in innovation and technology, but like we definitely stand on the shoulders of giants morally. Like these people like Chief Cavazos and, you know, this boy Hitchler. I
Yeah.
hope he's doing great out there. You know, I might look him up after this.
I tell you, I remember I actually visited one Marine base. I grew up in California. I had a friend that joined the Marines just after I joined the Army. His
Mhm.
name is Deshaun Langendorfer.
That is a
Black,
German ass name.
Black
A
German.
black German.
Yeah, black
Okay,
German.
nice.
He grew up in Alaska too, which is crazy as fuck.
This is the wild card. This is like a Mad Libs.
Yeah,
You know, figuring out trying to craft your own soldier, a
yeah.
Marine.
He was born in the middle, like grew up in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, and he was like, yeah, pretty much everybody's white. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, I was like the only black guy, but he ends up joining the Marines, and I went to visit him one time. I was on leave, so I went to go visit him at Pendleton while I was in California. Got a rental and drove up there, and I'm hanging out with him, and we're on base at a party. Like all the Marines are like partying, having a good time. Every Marine is trying to fight each other and my buddy.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if there's something that like gave off about me, but no one tried to like fight me or anything. They kind of left me alone.
Well, they probably didn't know you.
Well, it was like partying the Red Sea because like I feel like something was giving me off. I think I might have had like an army something hoodie on, and they were just leaving me the fuck alone.
Yeah, you know, because probably. I mean, I don't know the situation, but
I mean, I noticed that like Marines don't typically try and fight the army because they're so busy fighting each other.
what's out of love?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
for the most part.
But it's like I would never see a Marine like bully an Air Force or like
We
beat
never
up
did
an Air
that.
Force kid.
No. If,
Yeah,
if if we ever worked with other services, we always like made a big point of like always trying to be
keep the shenanigans to the Marines, and then like
keep everything to a minimum and like because you don't want people going back and like talking shit or anything like that. Like there's still like that sort of like
I just imagine a giant Marine with like his arm around the Air Force, like, "Hey, don't talk to my buddy. This is my buddy. Leave my buddy alone.
Mhm.
Go get your own Air Force buddy."
But I will say, my wife, she said she's on her way. So if you wouldn't mind moving your car now,
Yeah, yeah.
take your mic off so you're not upstairs.
Uptown girl.
Yeah.
She was living in an uptown.
Okay, I'm gonna start reading through some of these.
It's all Brian.
It's all Brian.
All Brian.
Something about Steph Curry banging threes all day.
Yeah.
Oh, because when you're talking about the different women, then don't look at your LES. High ground Obi-Wan. You wanted to break the will of the South and end support to the Confederacy. Yeah, yeah, General Sherman. Yeah, and just his whole point of view on warfare, I think, is the morally correct one. But yeah. So when he gets back, is there anything particularly that we want to talk about? I think it was so far a good conversation about morality in warfare and great historical individuals. But yeah. No, I mean, well, I'm just talking to myself here. I think there's a lot of times where we want to look back, or we do look back on our experiences and have a lot of regret. And I would hate for me, like, I guess everyone does try to minimize the regret, but like, I mean, I'm very like self-conscious about that. Bombs? Oh, yeah. So we can talk about bombs. My comedy routine bombed. No, I'm just kidding. I did start talking about. I was like, oh, maybe I should try like stand-up comedy, and I had started writing jokes. Immediately, it was like, no, this would be awful. But I'll wait till he gets back if he wants to hear any of my written routine. I would never want to like go on stage because I just feel like that's so much. Like I don't know how people do. They must fucking love that sort of public like scorn. I don't know how you can be a stand-up comedian, dude. That's you know. But I put bombs in the title because I wanted to talk about the bombs like Venezuela, and I've been seeing people compare this to the bombings in like Afghanistan and Yemen done under like the Obama administration, and so a lot of people that were complaining about um, the bombings with the Venezuelans have been kind of silent on bombings of the Yemenis or something like that. Beer and I. Such such a great video.
Bombs over Baghdad. I'm sorry, I saw this comment. Bombs.
Oh yeah, we're because thinking of like more things to talk about, but yeah, no. When I brought up the Venezuelan thing because there's been a lot of parallels of people talking about the Yemenis. Some stand-ups do storytell. So I was saying the only bombs I know of are my comedic routine. So at one point I started writing jokes. I was like, I wanted to try stand-up comedy. I never did it because like I feel like that would be. I don't know. I'm imagining being up there and just like that's got to feel awful. Like telling a joke that you're like, this is funny. Like nobody laughs. It's like, fuck, you know.
Yeah, I actually did the same thing. I tried to do the same thing myself.
Did you write any jokes? Do you remember any of them?
Yeah, I remember a couple of them. So I grew up in a single parent household. I have my mom, I have three brothers. I have three brothers, and my mom raised all of us. We're all half brothers. There's different dads throughout the life. My older brother is the first oldest. I'm the second. Then we got two younger ones. Mm-hmm. And I grew up with a lot of like random dudes coming in. It was really an interesting like dynamic to grow up with. But the other thing I had to deal with is my mom would constantly, when she was single, she constantly just ask her sons, my older brother and me, Bryce, do you think I'm fat? Bryce, do you think I'm fat? Bryce, do you think I'm fat? And she'd be like, oh, this dress makes me fat. And if I say no, which I always did, she'd be like, why are you lying to me? I know I look like a heifer. I know I'm a cow. And I was like, just so like getting so annoyed with it. So one day, I think I was about 16, I was like, Mom, what do you want me to say? Moo? Like I made the cow sound. I was like, what, are you going to go out and you're going to get like a cow printed dress and then just, I don't know, go meet your friends at the farm? Mm-hmm. But, I made that as one of the jokes. And I said it was more of a storytelling thing. But I find that funny, and some dudes would find that funny. Women are more astonished. You'd say that's your mom?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. The one joke I remember that I wrote was, it was like I'm like a really boring white dude. So like I did ancestry.com to like figure out what I could complain about. And I figured out that I'm actually part Jewish, which is like really hard because like now I have to like love genocide and like I love blowing up kids now, guys, and I'm gonna get into finance, So it's been a really rough year at school, like trying to switch majors to finance and all that. But that's all I wrote. And I was like, I could just imagine like, oh.
So I tend to attract, when it comes to female persuasion, I tend to attract like the vegan girls, vegetarian girls. Funny because my last name is Bacon. Mm-hmm. Just the girls with those really liberal like opinions. I attract a lot of liberal women. And my joke is, because you know how you have the Dick's restaurant in Florida? When they go there, they treat you like shit. They're like,
oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, what the fuck do you want? They give you a hat, like your hat would say Bubbles, and then Jenny's would say Blowing Bubbles. Like it's like right. Absurd things, just throwing napkins on me. So I was like, what? I thought about it. What if I did my own restaurant in like Korea where I could get away with it, called Assholes? And the girl would be like, why is it called Assholes? Well, you know how they eat dog in Korea, right? So I imagine if I had a menu that served all kinds of animals, and I had the pictures of the animals, what they used to look like, and not just any animals, heroic animals. Like you have a golden retriever. This golden retriever saved 3 kids from a burning building. His name is Scotty. Would you like to try Scotty tonight? And it's just a picture of the smiling put's face. The girls are like, that's terrible. You're an asshole. I'm like, exactly. But what if you get protested? I'm like, if a place is called Assholes and it's not getting protested, am I doing my job right?
Yeah. Were you ever stationed in Korea?
No, I've been trying to get over there, just to experience it. The problem is that most of my AIT class, way back in the day, went to Korea as a 25 Quebec, because what they have in Korea, smart teas. line of sight, transmission.
Okay.
So a lot of them went there. The only reason I didn't was because I went to airborne. And if you're airborne, you get really limited on where you can go,
Mm-hmm.
specifically Alaska, Italy, Fort Bragg. One airborne unit here in Germany, at least here at this post,
Right.
173rd. So, and then, like, there's not many other places you can go besides those. So I
Mm-hmm.
really limited myself that first, like, 6 years in the Army. And it wasn't until we became hotels that Italy opened up, and then I also went recruiting as well, which that wasn't MLS based. But if I would
Right.
have stayed airborne and we would have stayed with Quebec's, I would have just been jumping between Italy, Alaska, Fort Bragg.
Hmm.
It's not really a lot of choices there. Three
Yeah.
choices.
I love Korea. That's one of the if I don't retire in the United States, I'll retire in Korea. Like
I just
I
haven't
love
gotten a
that country.
chance. I'd love to pop over to the Asian countries. I was gonna do that this year, but we talked about people passing away and stuff, and me having to be there for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna either try then the next year. I'm slated to be here until July 2027.
Okay.
So maybe I can try and squeeze it in. I can also extend here. I just haven't really thought about it. I'm still kind of just working through what I want to see from the rest of my time here.
Mm.
Right now, I'm at like 12 years and 7 months in service. And by the time I leave here, I'm going to be at 14 years and 7 months. Now, I have 5.5 years to hit to my 20. More likely, wherever I go next is either going to be my last or my second last place. And if it is my second last, I can extend to make it my last. So it's kind of like, where do I want to finish up my time? What's going to look the best for me? And where am I going to enjoy? I would love to go to the Asian countries, but I also could risk a roll of the dice when I hit the marketplace. Am
Mm-hmm.
I going to get places that I want to go? I would love to go to Florida. I'd love to go to Hawaii. I'd love to go to Japan, England. But what are the odds I'm going to get those places, or is it all going to be like Fort Drum, Fort Irwin, Kuwait?
Yeah. I mean, I spent most of my military career overseas, and I don't know,
Prefer it.
prefer it. Yeah. I don't like being in the States.
The most they can get away with is like extending here for 2 years. But I tell you, tactical is just such a hard environment,
Mm-hmm.
that you're always just running and gunning. And it was like that when I was in SOF, but we actually were deploying. So it kind of said that this is the end state. This
So
is,
you were in SOF?
yeah, special operations at Bragg,
Mm-hmm.
under 112th, which fell under 1st Special Forces Command. So we were the comms guys that got deployed out to like Soxent in Qatar, and then we'd run the whole operations as a signal team with like 5 dudes.
So you're like at Doha and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
In
and we're
Qatar.
running SDN heavies, SDN mediums, which now that I look back on it, SDNs was like the bread and butter, like so easy to set up and do. And I know so much more after all my time in the service. But like that was good because you had the end goal. You knew you were deploying. You knew you were going on an active mission that was playing in a real world threat. But when you do tactical and all you're doing is going on FTXs, it feels very much like role play.
Oh, yeah, I fucking hate it.
Yeah, and like if you're gonna role play, I get doing it once a year, and then doing drills back at base, like every day, Thursday, sergeant's time training. You're doing that, but like for instance, I'm running this brigade FTX as a networking piece next week, so I'm going out to the field, and then we have Avenger Triad the next month, so we're doing another whole exercise with the joint nationals, and it's very nonstop, and we're already talking about
The unit.
yeah, and like when we get to next year, we're already looking at spring, doing another FTX in another country.
It's very hard, like being in the military, to stay motivated when you're not doing real world stuff. Like it was always like being in the Marine Corps was always like much easier. I felt like because we deployed very often, so it was like everything was like, hey, we're
Mission
deploying in
critical.
like 2 months, so it's like,
Let's gear up. We're gonna go down there. We're gonna kick asses, shoot faces, and
yeah, but it was like there was like an end goal. There was a goal
yeah.
always, you know.
When there's no goal and you're just going through the motions, it's mentally
Yeah, it sucks, and it just sucks for everybody involved,
yeah.
you know.
I still think recruiting was worse because recruiting, it was a mental suck. I could put in all the effort that I could every day, call 300 people, get 300 fuck yous, and not be successful for the whole month giving that same energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then randomly the next month, I'll get 2 people that walk in and they're like, your leadership goes from, oh, that's a piece of shit to that's my guy. And you're still expected to follow the other Army stuff, like stay in shape, not get mentally worn down. Like 9 out of 10 recruiters, and this isn't an overestimation, 9 out of 10 recruiters are on some kind of medication, whether it's coffee with whiskey in it, beers during lunch, just shit that will get them through the day.
Yeah.
And that was that kind of job. And now that I'm in this environment, it's not the same. It's stressful, but it's not as stressful as that. But I guess what I desire is being in a tactical unit that has that end state of like, this is why we're doing this. This is the reward. This is what you're going to get at the end of the day. Which I did at least have that in recruiting by seeing someone enlist. And I still talk to the kids I put in the Army. Some of them.
I would never want to be a recruiter. I think that just sounds awful. Just having to deal with all those people. Just
the parents are the worst.
I'm sure.
Parents are the absolute worst because every parent thinks their kid is special. They've raised them, they've loved them, they put them in school, and they're like, my kid deserves the best. What do you mean he can't get like this high tier job at the $50,000 signing bonus? Well, man, he got a 33 on that. This is like, what do you want us to give him? We can give him clothing textile specialist, no bonus. That's not a combat arms. So, you just have to deal with that. It's like that over sense of entitlement, and they look at you and they think you're uneducated. It's not too uncommon that I'd talk to a parent on the phone, or I'd talk to someone on the phone, a college graduate. They're like, I have a master's, right? I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I have one too. What's yours in? And then they'd hang up the phone. It's just, especially in the Liberal area, because I was recruiting it for the Boston community area.
Yeah.
And so they'd just be like Berkeley, Harvard, whatever you can think of. But the kids I found myself bonding with the most were the ones that didn't want to follow traditional paths. College wasn't for them. They wanted a sense of adventure. They want to get out and do something different. And I always told kids, I was like, don't look at it like the 6-year contract. Look at it like a 3-year contract. Finish it up. Then take that GI Bill, go study abroad, because that will cover it. And you just go out, move to Germany for 3 years, live your life, experience the world, and then just decide what you want to do after.
Yeah.
But I never talked kids into doing it long term.
Yeah, I think the military is like a great springboard for success for a lot of people in the United States, especially if they don't know what they want to do. I'm very thankful for like what I've gotten in the military and the experiences I've had and the support I've gotten from it. I think it's a great institution, and I think it's easy to like see the negatives in it, especially while you're doing a lot of the negatives. But in retrospect, it's like, damn, dude, like it could be a lot worse.
Yeah. I completely agree. And if you think about it, you're closer to retirement than I am.
Barely. I think we're about the same. I'm like because we enlisted at like the same time, I think.
March 2013 for me.
Yeah, it was August 2013.
So okay, I got a little bit ahead of you, but not much. And you think about it, you're 7.5 years away from retirement, and you're going to be 38, 39, and boom, you can decide whatever you want to do after that.
Yeah. And
you compare these other people, and if you compare, I'm so glad that I didn't do it. The blended retirement system. Let's talk about that for a second. The blended retirement system is it's great. The TSP matching 5%. You're going to at least get something when you get out of the Army. But at the same time, when can you draw that money out?
Was it 55, 56?
Exactly. That's 16 years on top of it. And, it's a very high probability. Like, I think I want to say it's 50%. You can check me on it. But there's a 50% chance that the dudes that do the Army within the first 5 years, they die.
Oh, when they get out, you're saying?
Yeah, 50% chance first 5 years. And that comes down to the lack of camaraderie, the lack of people. Because you're talking to people every day in the Army. You have the same faces.
Yeah.
But when you get out, like, where does that community go? Where are you doing?
Have you ever gotten out of the military, or you stayed in the whole time?
I've stayed in the whole time, but I'm talking about this from because I'm in a U.S. military motorcycle club. So I'm with dudes that have lived the life, and they talk about when they got out, what they had to deal with, what they had to experience with. Even my dad only did
even with that camaraderie, and it's not the same with a motorcycle. I feel that way. I say this because my very first Marine that I trained, he got out of the Marine Corps, served honorably, all that, great guy, was in a motorcycle club, ended up killing himself.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn, dude, like because I was like, oh, this dude's great. Like, he's set, he's got this community, he's doing all this stuff with these guys. And then it's just like one day see his obituary. I was like, damn, dude, like I thought he wouldn't be the one, you know.
I think it comes to a multitude of factors. I think community is one for certain, but I also think that you need to have passions and hobbies outside the military that you're working towards now.
Yeah.
And when you get out of the army, you need to keep making goals for yourself.
Oh
They
yeah.
talk a lot of leaders like to talk about lifelong learning, always engaging yourself in something. But I think about lifetime goal building, having things that you want to do, that you want to foresee, that you're going to see at the end. And also, they're getting rid of the MRT, but I always thought that Master Resilience Trainer, I always thought that was probably one of the best courses I've ever taken. The key thing that I took away from it when I get out is if I'm having a rut, just a sucky week, just nonstop feeling the dumps, start writing down 3 things that I'm happy about every day, saying, hey, today's August 8th, whatever year, I'm happy that I got up this morning and I got to get my favorite coffee at my favorite place.
Right.
I'm happy I got to have a phone call with one of my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy that I went to the gym today. I'm keeping to my goals and I'm keeping my plan. Doing that world of help for me.
100%. Yeah, and yeah, it's I don't know. It is alarming the amount of dudes that kill themselves. You know, getting out of the military, and it's just like I think it's you kind of do trauma bond with so many people,
Yeah.
and then it's like one day you're just gone, like you're out of it, and like because I got out of the Marine Corps, and I remember it was like wow, it was total whiplash, and it was like this is
Shitty.
empty. I felt empty getting out of the Marine Corps, and just being like, damn, I fucking miss my boys, you know, miss all of my unit, like miss all the dudes, and like they're deploying, and I'm sitting there like,
yeah,
seeing these guys I train like deploy without me. It's like, fuck, man, like it sucks.
Well, we always got to hang up our boots at a certain time. There's always going to be a time for that. But now, if you flip it on the other scope, and this is something that I learned probably around my 5th year in the Army, and I continue learning, is that no matter where you are, wherever you go, where you just left is going to continue moving on without you. Your family is going to keep on. They're going to keep on their regular schedule. They're going to have new moments. They're going to celebrate birthdays. They're going to celebrate anniversaries. Now, when you get out of the Army, it's the same thing happening again. You had the beginning phase where you lost touch with your family. Now you're losing touch with the military. You already know what it's like to lose that family where you don't feel as close anymore. And now, after you invested so much time, you trauma bonded, you went through all those sucky experiences. Now you're going through it again, but through people that you had experienced the shittiest situations. And always they say that suffering builds bonds, it builds trust.
Yeah, misery loves company, all that too.
That's why when you join the Army, you always feel like they're the best friends you ever made. You compare them to civilian friends, they're like, it's not the same. But you talk about military friends, you're like, oh, that guy, take a bullet for that guy. Or I fucking love that guy. Anything he needs. Like, and you think about how many civilian friends can you say that about?
I feel like I'm uniqueness. I have some really great friends from like high school that we still talk like every day.
Will they understand what you go through when you get out?
They won't understand. They might understand it, but they won't know it. Like because they weren't in the military.
Are you going to feel comfortable talking to them about what you're feeling?
I would, yeah. With these two people in particular, they're just really great friends. We've always been like super open and just like they won't understand it in the way. I mean, I would feel comfortable talking to them, but I would also know that like they're not the right person that would understand. Like I wouldn't want to drop that on them. I would only do that with like a veteran.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. But it's good that you have those friends. I know, after doing how many years in the Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force, that it's such a disconnect. And I feel whenever I take a vacation home and I'm around my family, I feel like I'm almost a stranger setting myself into the scene.
Yeah.
And I just think about that, and I think about these dudes that get out and they go back to these settings, and they're wondering why things are not how they used to remember them. It's because your family has adapted without you, and it's the same when you go on deployment, come back. Your wife was used to taking charge and doing everything, and now you're trying to reintroduce yourself into those parental roles, into the father figure, and it just doesn't feel the same as it was when it left, and like, you're wondering why, and it's such a hard thing Because when you're in those negative situations of trauma, you think about the thing that you miss, the comfort of your family, that role, that expectation, and you come back and it's different. And that's kind of like, oh, I just feel so displaced now. And you do 20 years in the army, now you're going back to your family and you feel so displaced and you don't have your boys anymore. And you're kind of like, fuck, man, I just want to get over it. This sucks. I don't feel useful. I don't feel important. I'm not working towards a goal. You know, what's the point? If why am I even here? No one's gonna miss me. I think there's lived on without me, and I don't have anything to live for. So let's full send. You know,
Yeah.
and that's such a hard like topic, and no one wants to talk about what they're going through. So I'm a firm believer. You know, first step that you do when you're getting ready to get out, make those long-term goals. Make those goals that you want to see happen with your free time. If I haven't been to some place I want to be, I know the first thing I'm going to do is try and go see some places, travel a little bit. You know?
Yeah, there's got to be, because I remember getting out and being like, what the fuck am I working for? Like, I remember like thinking, I was like, am I just working for money? Like, fuck that, you know?
Personally, I'm working towards having the ability through my disability that I'm fucked up. 13 years, you're gonna have some kind of injuries. I'm fucked up, and I'm working towards retirement. And getting a combination of the two will allow me, which you can get when you hit 18 years, concrete retirement plan. You get both will allow me to be like, oh, I have the money. I'm gonna buy a ticket to Hawaii this month. I'm gonna stay in a hostel. I'm gonna stay in a hotel, whatever, and I'm just gonna chill for like a couple of weeks, and then I'm gonna come back, and then I'm gonna get paid again in a couple of weeks. You know, I'll work a bullshit job and just enjoy doing what I want to. If I want to go here and work at this brewery, they need an assistant for like 3 months. I can go and do that. I'm not tied down to anything. I don't have to have any formal structure. And maybe I'm also pursuing like my pilot's license. You know, I always want to do that. I have the free time to do that now. Like 39 seems like it's a very old age, but you also have, I'd say, a solid 20 years to just live your life before, you know, you get too tired, too bogged down with like maybe kids, grandkids, because that's a whole new factor into it as well.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like having a.
Yeah, it's.
You distract me every time you look. I always got to look.
What if I just start looking that way?
I probably would look. Yeah, I probably would. Yeah. But like when like now when I know that I'm gonna get out eventually, I have like a desire and like a.
I didn't look. You looked.
I swear I saw something pop up down there.
I didn't look this time.
I know you didn't look, but I saw something pop up. Anyway, I have like I know I have to have some sort of like higher meaning goal, whatever, and like that's why for me I'm dead set on politics. When I got in the military, was running for office, and
what is the highest level that you see yourself going for, and the lowest level? And where do you want to start off, and where is the highest place that you want to possibly end up?
I mean, it depends. Of course, I would say like if I could one day be the president, that'd be awesome, right? But like in terms of, I would like to be a federal representative, so House of Representatives, senator. You know.
Do you think you'll start off with like alderman, mayor?
Well, no. I'd try to run for state, like state senate. You know, in Florida, you know, that would be like my goal, like or you know, run for state senate, then from there
move towards like higher. Okay, no, I understand, and that's interesting to see. You know, I grew up with my older brother. Like he's only 3.5 years older than me. You know, he's the one that convinced me to join the army, and he did his bachelor's in political science. And I always thought that was interesting. I'm like, you want to go into a field that just involves nonstop like conversation, arguments, but it's for the betterment of other people. And I think it's supposed to be for the betterment of other people. Not always do we get good representatives that are representatives of the people's will. So being able to see people that actually want to move forward with that plan for that reasoning, I think, is a unique perspective that we have in today's society.
So it flickered. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
But no, I think that's really cool. Well, I realized, you know, when I first joined the army, I really wasn't that social at all. And through the army, through recruiting, I've gotten more social. I'm more of an extrovert than I used to be. If anything, I think I'm over in the extrovert side than I am on the introverted side, barely, but there. And just seeing that, I know that I want a job where I can talk with people every day and just like bullshit, hang out, smile, have good times. And I think running a brewery, working behind a bar is probably where I would be
Yeah.
the best. I don't like, I think it's cool to have those big like aspirations and dreams and work for those. But I also realize that I'm happy like middle ground. Do my retirement and then have something that is just makes me happy,
Right.
gives me that personal growth and that personal uh, feeling of success. Going back though, I never did finish my topic about the blended retirement system.
Right. Yeah.
So we go into the whole 55 thing, and it's kind of like a setup, a scam. You do get something out of it, no matter if you do like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, whatever. You're gonna get something. You're gonna get to take it home. You're also gonna get disability, but it's not as much as you could on the original high three system, and it's a way for the government to like save money.
I don't think so at all. I think it's
Well, if you make it like the encouragement with the original retirement system is that you make it all the way to 20 years, right? You get your retirement. Anything else before that, you get out, you just get disability, and that it sucks. So that's why they came out with the blended. But if you think about it, you can't touch your TSP until when?
55, I think.
Yeah, 55.
Yeah.
I thought they raised it to 67 recently.
No.
But
it's not up to 67. Jesus.
you can't take that money out until you're 55. You can't get your retirement until you're 55. That's like 16 years on top, or 17 years if you join when you're 18.
I think, yeah.
I think it's designed so less people can claim retirement, and the government saves money that way.
But they still, on the blended, if you do 20 years, you still get paid 40% of your top three instead of 50.
Yeah, but that's a lot of money when you talk about retirement over 20 years.
Yeah, but I understand that. But the TSP, the amount of money you make on that with matching is insane. It's like, it's less people would make it, but it's like that's every retirement ever. Like if you stop working at 38 or 39, it's like.
Well, I remember when they came out with the whole TSP speech, right? And they were doing the blended retirement system. They talk about the 5% match, and they talk about the differences, the 40% you get to claim, the higher age. But the one thing they don't talk to you in depth about when I first joined, they're a little better now, is the funds. A lot of dudes that do the TSP, do the 5%.
And they do like the government bonds where it's like the 4%.
Yeah, or they put it in the L fund, not understanding that that's the stagnant fund that just keeps the money level. I didn't know that for my first 7 years. So all I had was the money that I put in, and that the government doesn't match me because I'm on the original retirement system.
Right.
So I just had the money that I put in, and I was like, fuck, I could have been putting it in one of the other three funds where they would have been investing it for me. Like I wish I would have known that sooner, but now.
But for people that do that, but the people in the blended that are joining now, that are taking advantage of that and putting it in the TSP, it's so good, and it's like having that 5% matching. It builds up over time, man. That it's like.
Oh no, I'm not disagreeing with that either. But going back to that whole 50% rate of like veterans dying within the first 5 years of service, like that's a lot of money that doesn't just. No, I mean, like how much can you leave to your spouse or your retirement?
For TSP, I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
I think like you could leave your TSP and whatnot, but I think the government still takes a tax from it. And like I think the whole.
It depends on if it's Roth or not.
Yeah, I mean, you can pull your TSP out prior to 55, but you pay an interest rate because you're borrowing against yourself, which I think is a silly fucking thing. But
Yeah.
Who can tax the sunrise?
I don't know what that
is. Who can tax the trees? Now, there's a whole song called "The Government Can," and it sings about taxing different things. Honestly, I think it'd be a perfect ringtone for this show when you open it up. The government can start a business and give away all the fees. The government can.
The government can start a business and give away all the fees?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
I just want to play a little jingle.
No, don't play it. Don't play it.
I want to play it.
No, seriously, don't.
Okay. Will you get in trouble?
I've gotten banned off YouTube twice now.
It's okay.
For copyright.
It's okay.
It's not okay, no.
Just let it happen. Just let it happen. That's what my scoutmaster said.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for taxes, people always like view taxes as
Bad.
punishment.
It is. I don't want to pay no fucking taxes.
I think taxes are a necessary evil, and they should be as low as possible.
We
should have taxes to fund the things we want to fund, and that's it.
I have mixed feelings about taxes myself. I mean, I have my state listed down as New Hampshire just because no income tax, but they do charge a high property tax. They don't have the income tax, they don't have state tax, but they'll charge a high.
Do you own property out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I own 8 acres between me and my brother. And that's one of my partial goals is maybe move out there and build a house and whatnot. But I know I'll be paying the extraordinary fees on that.
Yeah.
But taxes are just a mixed thing for me. Taxes get claimed for all these variety of resources that I may never use. And I'm paying all this money towards it. And I look at my paycheck and I'm like, geez, I'm paying like $1,000 per month in taxes for things that I might not ever get. And honestly, what worries me is like, we pay into Social Security. Are we 100% sure that we're going to have Social Security when we get to like 60, 70 years old? I'm worried. So I'm going to pay all this money all my life, and then we're going to get to that end step. And they're like, I'm sorry, there's no Social Security. But what happens to all that money I gave you? It's gone.
I think at that point, like the world would be over. I think you'd have bigger problems to worry about than your Social Security check.
Is that what you think? That we're moving towards that?
No, I don't think so at all. I think
I just don't like, even with my military retirement, I don't believe in investing in what someone tells me. I mean, what's going to happen when I get to the end and they're just like, oh yeah, we decided to get rid of congruent retirement, so you can get one disability or you can get the retirement. Well, fuck. The only reason I stayed in the Army this long was because I thought I was going to get both, but you tell me I can only get one now? I guess I'll go with the disability.
Yeah, but for me, I'm happy paying taxes if I know it's going to something good.
Yeah, where's the proof that it's going to something good?
So you're not always going to get the proof.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm agreeing with you. Like, I know that that's hard, but it's like, I think society only works when men plant trees they'll never sit in the shade of.
I think it'd be great. I mean, I know it's impossible. If they're like, hey, this is how much you owe per taxes each month. Now, these are the things that you need to pick to put money towards. Pick each thing that you want to put towards.
I mean, but the problem with that is like there's things that like people just say, "Oh, none of it," or they like.
Well, no, like imagine like it's like those things at the mall that says 5%, 10%, 30% tip. You have to pick one. You can't skip the screen back in the States because I hate those fucking things. So imagine that, but like on doing your monthly. Imagine doing taxes monthly. Just like you just have to log in this portal. They say this is how much you have to pay in taxes. How much do you want to put in each thing? You have to put something, or you're not going to get paid at the end of the month. And then you select the things, and then it says, okay, you're good. You're going to get paid. You picked your things. Thank you for being a super citizen. And then it moves on to the next person.
Yeah, but what if it's like there's things that we need funding for, but nobody selected it?
Then like it condenses the list. Like if you picked first, then it's like this. I mean, there's always going to be lesser two evils. If I'm like, hey, do you want to donate towards Animal Welfare Society or like trash pickup or like
kids with cancer.
And it's like, you're like, oh, well, all these are pretty shitty. And then it's like, but I'll go with the one that I agree with the most, which is kids with cancer or parent veterans with dogs. You're going to find something that you like. And imagine there's so many things that we fund with our taxes. I think the list is like 200, like 300 easily of different programs and stuff that we just put money in. And you're telling me that there's probably some dudes that are like, I don't like any of this because fuck taxes. But in order to get paid, you got to pick something. People are going to do shit to get paid. We go to work every morning when we don't want to.
Yeah.
So
I think with our taxes, like in our system, I think it's pretty good. I mean, you're not going to be perfect, right? There's never going to be no fraud, waste, or abuse. But it's like, it tends to be pretty good. Now, I think that it can always be better, of course. But I don't know. I think Americans, we do pay way less than most Western countries in taxes. And that's fine. I think the problem with the left and the right is that they view taxes as punishment. The left views it as we need to oh, there can't be billionaires, oh, the billionaires, whatever, like we need to tax them. There should never be a billionaire, right? The concept of that arbitrary number is now evil.
But now they're getting rid of equality. If you want to target someone higher with a different tax bracket, I'm more than fine with paying. That's such a weird dynamic.
What?
Would you be happy if everyone that's in this country is taxed the same percentage, 5%?
No.
Or would you be happy having this scaled limit
progressive
set?
tax system? I think a progressive tax system is way better.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying like I make a lot of money or anything. Like obviously, there's people that are way more rich than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Just the idea of like, hey, we are gonna tax you like 50% because you're a billionaire, or 30%. I know it's not as high as 50, and we're gonna tax the guys down here as 5%. I'm like, if I go through all my life to set up this business and I've worked hard, late nights, I invented a patent, I invented a program, and I have to pay more percentage than these other people, I just don't agree with that. I believe in more of a scaled tax system.
Yeah, but like that's the price of living in this society, and to be a part of it, like you don't have to build your business here. You can go live in the woods for free and not pay anything and just hide out there, and then but you're utilizing the community and for people to utilize their community to fund you. Yeah. Even, and
but,
so
as going back to that though, is like you don't get to choose where you're born. You just end up here. You do choose the right to move, but do you have the financial capital to start your business in that country, or is this easier to do so?
Yeah, America's easier to start a business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's easier here, and you were born here, so you have the resources to make it capable. But do I think that we have to tax them more because they were financially successful?
I don't think it's a have to, but it makes sense because there's a concept called the elasticity of money. Now, at 5% for someone making $20,000 a year, 5% of their wealth, that's what, $1,000
for $20,000 a year.
Yeah. So $1,000, $1,000 like goes a long way for somebody that's making $20,000 a year. If I'm making $400,000 a year, 5% is fucking nothing. 5% of that, like, oh yeah, like 5% at someone making $20,000 a year is whether or not they can eat that month. For me, or make a car payment. For me, that's like, which vacation do I have to choose now? So it's like the scale of money does matter at those percentage rates, and so I think that it sounds nice, like everyone just does the same fair share, 10%, 5%, whatever, but it affects people differently. I think we should make it as easy as possible to not be poor. Like if you are struggling in America, like we should be helping you and taking off like barriers for progression so that you can be successful and make more money. And when you make more money, you take from the winners and you help up the losers. And that's just situated like shutting down like coal miners, right? You have these people that are like 40 years into this job as a coal miner, and now they cannot work anymore because we have other businesses that are now expanding because they're going to different forms of energy and it's cheaper. Like they're saving all this money, and now we're shutting down these workers.
Yeah.
Would we now put on these workers like, now you need to learn how to code? You need to learn a new fucking job?
Fuck yeah, we would.
No, I think we would, but that's not the right answer. The right answer is say, look, like times are advancing, we're moving forward, but for these companies that have benefited far more because you've lost your job, let's help you out. Depending on how old you are, start working like different programs to help these people out. That for no fault of their own.
Which requires tax money in order to help them.
It requires tax money.
Yeah.
It has to be forceful, but it's going to be from those bigger businesses and stuff like that are going to exploit those workers.
I can see your point of view on that. I do see that. I don't know. It's hard for me to get behind just the idea of taxing. I mean, why do we have a death tax? Why do we have a tax on like inheritance? Mm-hmm. Like in order for my grandfather to give me this amount of money, the government has to take their piece off the top. Why is that a thing?
It's a thing. It's a way to make money.
Exactly. Yeah. There are some
taxes it's exploitative.
Yeah.
And tax is theft, right? Taxation is theft. That is true, but it's a necessary theft. If we don't have to do the death tax, but I agree, taxes should be as low as possible. That's what I'm saying. Is it's viewed as a punishment on the left and the right. The left use it as this is a tool to punish the rich, and the right use it as why the fuck am I being punished?
Yeah, and I don't know. There's certain taxes that I just can't get behind. I get like a gas tax, import tax. I do understand those.
Okay.
But it's like things like tourism tax. Like when I stay at a hotel, you're going to pay a 5% tourism tax because you the time about embezzlement, congressmen.
Well, when people say tax write-off, it's always like it's not counted when it's a tax write-off. It's not counted for your profit right now with the ultra rich, like the billionaires, whatever your Jeff Bezos is, your Elon Musk is marginalizing stocks. So they go to a bank. Let's say I'm Elon Musk and I have $100 billion in Tesla. I go to the bank and I put up I have $100 billion in Tesla. I put up $100 million to the bank of my stock. They're going to give me $100 million in cash. And that's not taxed. They'll give me that money. And because now they're holding my stock as capital at like a 10% interest rate or whatever the fuck it is. And then after the 5 years, I'm now in debt, $150 million. I can sell $150 million of my stock to pay off my debt. And because I'm in debt, I don't have to pay capital gains tax. And so I've just taken millions of dollars, spent it, and took money out of a company and just
shuffled it around.
No taxes paid. And it's on like that, where it's like as an income tax, you'd be taxed like fucking crazy.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm talking about.
It's like shit like that. It's like there's for the poor and for the middle class and even a lot of the upper class, they're paying a lot of these taxes, but like the people at the very, very top
have capital
aren't paying any taxes on like their profits.
And that's the big thing that I disagree with is like, this whole tax system is set to let the prestige thrive, and it's a lot harder to get from this level. Why are you licking my kneecap, weirdo?
Oh, she's a good girl.
Yeah, sure. How do you get from here to there? She's licking me.
Her tail's just wagging like crazy over here.
She's just licking my kneecap. Sadie, the dog. But no, it's just like, how do we evenize it out, or is it just going to always be like this?
I think so. This is what I would want to see. I would want to see something with the Federal Reserve of like if a marginalized tax, like if there's a marginalized loan, it should be given at like a 20% interest rate, whatever to match the capital gains tax. Because like at the end of the day, that money will still make its way back through the Federal Reserve into the U.S. Treasury. So it's like, okay, but tax it, like have that interest rate run by the Federal Reserve to that bank be higher. Now that's what I would suggest, something to fix that massive loophole. I'm okay with tax write-offs and stuff like that. I'm okay with how everything's structured right now, because like people like Jeff Bezos, they're like, Amazon paid no money in taxes. It's like, that's not true. They paid a fuck ton of money in taxes. They paid billions of dollars in taxes every year. But because they look at Jeff Bezos himself, hasn't paid any money in taxes because he doesn't have a W-2. He doesn't have an income tax.
Yeah, he doesn't have any money in his that's coming into his account. He's just keeping it all in stocks and
then marginalizing it with the bank. And so, yeah.
So that kind of just defeats the whole purpose of the rest of society paying taxes, because, what's the point if these guys don't get actually taxed?
And I agree. And like, that's where the conversation should be. And I don't think there's a lot of good, like the messaging on a lot of our politicians is like insane and just stupid.
Yeah. It's like, hey, he doesn't have to pay taxes. Why should I have to? What can I do to build that capital up so I get the same deal? They're like, oh, well, you can try blackjack. You can try the roulette. You can try the lottery system. Maybe you might get lucky. And, I feel like we've also missed the wave for crypto. Like the people that were going to get rich on that got rich. I think it's starting to normalize.
Yeah, well, crypto is a different animal because you can only make money on crypto if somebody else lost money.
Yeah,
it is a zero-sum game, and so people can still scam on crypto. Currently with U.S. president, with the Trump coin, like that, it's a huge scam, and he's made. There's estimates upwards of like $10 billion
on Trump
and
coin.
cash, yeah, and Trump coin, and it's like Jesus.
And this is the thing, I think with crypto, it starts off like a lot of like the really successful ones, where people made a lot of money, where there's a crazy interest gain, were start off as meme coins, and then there's a wave where everyone's like buying into the joke. But once that wave hits of buying into the joke, other people see, oh, this dude just made like thousands of dollars off this joke coin, and now they're putting some actual substance behind it. They're like, oh, that's what I'm gonna get rich off of. Then you have the second wave that like the lucky losers didn't make as much as the first wave, but after those guys made a little bit of money,
It
they
just
tell
goes
their
to
friends,
zero.
yeah, and then they come in, and that's where the losses hit.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's the thing. I think we're past that now. I don't think there's many other things that can come out, because now we kind of understand. It's kind of like that phishing scam that started out in like the early 2000s, late 90s. I'm a Nigerian prince. Yeah, I was thinking that people might have fallen for that. You had like a few unfortunate like handfuls, and then they let other people know, and then it kind of started to go away. But it's there's a wave of things that we follow, and crypto is just another wave. But the question is what's going to be the next thing where people throw all their money at? And I think a lot of it right now, I think like it's going to go back to stocks, because we know stocks have legitimate like value to them. You have something physical. What kind of physical? You have stocks that you own of the company.
Yeah, you own part of the company.
Yeah, like crypto is just poof, worth nothing. Cent like less than a penny, like less than 10 cents of a penny, and it can go even lower than that.
Yeah.
But stock, you have a physical, you have a portion of this company, and I think it's going to go back to that. And I think AI is going to be the next stock that builds up. And if it ever does get legalized, I think marijuana stock's going to pop up really fast. There's already some companies that are geared to start just reproducing on a mass scale. And if that happens, then those stocks will spread out. But I mean, again, I like, as we're talking about AI, I use ChatGPT a lot, and I've been exploring with the capabilities. I feel like I'm an old man discovering technology, just seeing what it can do. Been using it to play like survival games, like create me an arena of 100 people and give me different character backgrounds, and it does it. And I'm like, okay, now we're gonna do a survival game, and like it can do all that. And I even asked it. I was like, what do you think is like the possibility of marijuana being legalized as a time frame? It gave me a full path of a fast way, which is unlikely, in like a long-term way. Pretty much it said, we're looking at maybe 15 years before it's legalized completely, with like an 85% possibility rating. I mean, I hope that happens, but again, the main reason it hasn't been legalized is taxes. It was actually supposed to be introduced on the bill, like onto the floor this year. Like they had to make a decision about declassifying it from
or rescheduling it.
Yeah, so they were supposed to make a decision about that this year, but they keep kicking it down the way. Keep kicking the can, keep kicking the can, keep kicking the can. And it's like, when are you guys just going to make a decision? Yes.
You think it has to do with taxes?
I think because they haven't figured out like a solid way to tax it, like alcohol and tobacco, like a way to. Well, the first day.
Why wouldn't it just mirror tobacco?
Because it's not tobacco.
Right, but why wouldn't it just mirror? Like, what stop? Like, tobacco's. It's just like a sales tax.
It is a sales tax, but they don't have like any federally backed businesses. It's not federal yet, so they'd have to get rid of that first in order to federally tax it. But you can state tax it now. I mean, states have been
right. But I'm saying if they federally legalize it,
yeah,
why wouldn't it? Like, I don't see I think it would be very beneficial for the federal government. I don't see how it would prevent them from taxing it.
I think it's partially with how it's grown. Like it's something to do with like vegetables, like how we tax produce and things like that, because it's naturally grown.
Yeah, but so is tobacco.
It comes down to that. Yeah, but there's a whole chemical process that they treat tobacco with, especially big tobacco companies.
Yeah, people can package marijuana and stuff too, but you can also buy just straight tobacco that isn't.
Yeah.
So it's like
pipe tobacco.
I feel like it would just be very easy just to mirror that. Like, yeah, marijuana will tax the same way we tax cigarettes.
Yeah, but I mean,
I think it's not being rescheduled and stuff because there's still such a stigma with a lot of the elderly.
Yeah.
Like, look at like President Trump. Like, he doesn't drink alcohol. He doesn't do any drugs.
Doesn't have a beard.
He does not have a beard, right?
That's why we don't have beards in the military.
He doesn't have a beard.
Yeah, well, no, the older military veterans are like, back in my day, we didn't have no fucking beards.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what's all this about fucking religious exemptions? And it's the same thing. They didn't really smoke weed in their days because it was super illegal. I think Kamala Harris was responsible for a good portion of California incarcerations with regards to marijuana use when she was a
She
judge.
wasn't.
She was a judge.
Yeah, but she wasn't in that
Yeah.
number of like 2,000 people,
I didn't say
whatever.
a number. I
No,
said
no, no.
a
I
good
know, but
portion. But she did put. Do
I don't think so. I think she only put.
you want to we have phones and
You can look
phones?
it up. It's probably. I think the highest number I saw was for marijuana alone charges. It was like 40 people for a whole time as a judge. Now there was 2,000 people that had marijuana as a lesser charge as well, like onto like another felony. But in terms of incarcerating people just based on marijuana was very. I think the highest number I saw was like 41 or 38.
Hmm.
What numbers are you seeing right now?
I see the theoretical conversations of 1900, and
Mm-hmm.
then I don't see a full actual answer. But she is saying that no one should go to jail for weed now.
Yeah, but
But
I mean,
she's also, she's changed her stances on that, like other things. I did just read that she changed her stance on the death penalty when she was a judge, but she just recently defended it. So that's interesting. But as you say, people grow, change over time. So
yeah, I mean, of course, there's politicians will hide certain values they might have. I mean, just to get elected. But what question did you ask? Because I'm gonna put how many people did
uh, I,
Kamala Harris
I just put Kamala
um,
Harris marijuana cases.
convict for only marijuana charges? For only marijuana
Let's ask ChatGPT.
charges. Yeah. So okay, so the role were downgraded. Okay, very few individuals serve jail time. Yeah, it's like how many people did she lock up? Um,
If you ever get banned again on YouTube,
yeah.
recreate your new like username, whatever, and you just call us like two guys and a blow up doll, and we'll just have a blow up doll here during the whole conversation.
Mm-hmm. That'd be pretty good. No, what I've gotten banned on YouTube for is like playing music and stuff or something and like being copyrighted or a video of something else.
What about singing?
Singing's fine. You can sing. That's 100% okay.
What if I sing like the Disney songs? Oh shit! I said Disney. My bad.
There you go.
Cease and desist letter.
This is like really hard to find. A number of like actual people she locked up.
Oh look, you got a new follow. Justin followed you today. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, he followed. Yeah.
And then you got a new follow yesterday.
When I had
T on here.
yeah, Tiana, we were arguing a lot about abortion. It got really heated.
Yeah, yeah, you were yelling at her and you thought you were getting made fun of. And it turns
Yeah,
out she was getting made fun of. Were you gassy?
I'm always gassy. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Um, there's got to be a number out there.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me make a call real quick.
Okay. I think we should be wrapping it up anyway.
Yeah, it's almost 9. Hello? Yeah, I was wondering if I can make a reservation.
You're
for
on
tomorrow.
your mic's on. But all right, guys, we're gonna